Hi everyone, thanks for watching. If you enjoy our shows, please like our videos and subscribe to our channel. And remember to hit the bell for notifications. And you can support us via PayPal, Patreon, Bitcoin, and through our website, ageoftruth.tv.
Hello and welcome to this special edition of Age of Truth TV. I'm Lucas Alexander in Copenhagen, Denmark. It's the 30th of September 2020, and this is a very special follow-up episode after we premiered the show CHECKMATE, an urgent warning message to humanity the other day on our channel. With Stephen Whybrow, Claire Edwards, and John Kitson decoding and deciphering the secret, hidden, occult messages to the world on the front page of the Economist Magazine in December 2019. This was decoded by a gentleman by the name of Jay of the Clapham Saints from Clapham Common in England. Now, Jay himself has agreed to do our show and to tell you, the audience, a little bit more in detail about what actually can be decoded and deciphered from that front page of the Economist magazine, and his very exciting, fascinating, and extraordinary backstory and history. Jay does not want to appear on camera himself, and he also wants us to disguise his voice. He will take us through a lot of very fascinating information, the secret behind everything that's going on this year, 2020. Jay. So if you're saying anything, hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, certainly.
Fantastic. Okay.
Can you see me?
I can see you, but you're you're waving. Yeah.
Yes, I'm waving.
Right. I'm going to try my best, Lucas, to walk you through these, step by step. I've sent you an email that says Lucas step by step. So yeah. So I'm going to start off with the front cover and then go through the step by step. And the step-by-step will go into two branches. The first branch will be the Chinese and Indian skirmish, and I will reference the source of references in terms of the mainstream media, how they reported on it, and the keywords that they used in the press, which is connected to the front cover.
We're just going to go for it, huh?
Go for it. Let's go for it, yeah.
Okay. So we are here with Jay from Clapham Common in England. And Jay, you have, we would like you, first of all, to tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your background and what actually led you on this path. And you were the reason why we did the show the other day with Claire Edwards, Stephen Whybrow, and John Kitson called Checkmate, Urgent Warning to Humanity, about, deciphering and decoding the front page of the Economist magazine from December 2019. And Jay, you are a bit of a secretive and elusive man. So in order for you to just address that a little bit, because a lot of people in the audience may want to question that because you don't want to be on camera. And you've also asked us to disguise your voice so that we don't hear that. So first of all, Jay, please introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about why you don't want to be on camera, or what was your background. And first of all, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you here, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Lucas. I thank you for the invitation. I have got, I guess the best place to start is, as you say, who am I and why I wish not to come onto your camera, and if you can disguise my voice. Now, I'm actually connected, I have a connection with a group of activists and campaigners called the Clapham Sect. My connection can be traced back to them, who were actors and campaigners that brought an end to human slave trafficking between the 18th and 19th century. And how I'm connected to them is the Clapham Sect were made up of wealthy Anglican families in Clapham Common, and the key founder of that group was called, they were the Thornton family. Now, the Thornton family, John Thornton, was the embryo of the Clapham Sect. Now, the Clapham Sect's original name was the Clapham Saints. He had three sons, and I'd just like to concentrate on the third one. All three of them were very distinguished gentlemen. They're all MPs. The first son, he became the Bank of England governor. The second son, he was quite close to the House of Hanover, one of the sons of George III. And the third son was Henry. Now, Henry was the financial brains of the Clapham Saints. He was the one that campaigned in Parliament with his second cousin called William Wilberforce. William Wilberforce is someone that a lot of people will probably recognise that name. Now, Henry had a daughter called Marianne. He did have 9 children, and Marianne is a very important figure in this whole dynasty. There was information that John Thornton would have passed down to his son Henry, and Henry would have passed down this information to Marianne. Henry Thornton passed away at the age of 55 in 1815. His wife passed away within 6 months, leaving Marianne, the daughter, an orphan at the age of 17 years old. Now, Marianne built a house which was next door to herself in 1852. She lived there. She lived in the Georgian house, built a house, next door to her in 1885. 2 years later, she passed away. Now, before she passed away, she passed on information to the owners of that particular property. So she pulled up the information from that bloodline and attached it to unrelated successive owners of that property. And the next owner that received this information, if you like, the handover, they lived in the area for 100 years. And then just before this particular person died at the age of 94, she passed on information to the next owner. Now, this owner was the last private owner of this last Thornton-built house, and this person was actually a family member of mine. And before they passed away, they handed over information to me. And there were two things I was asked to do. One was to finish off some work that he had been trying to finish off, and the other was to find Marianne. So this information, once I found Marianne where she was buried, she wasn't buried in the Clapham family vaults. Her grandfather, John Thornton, was the richest merchant in England in the mid-1700s. He was known as the Prince Merchant. So this family was a powerful political merchant and banking family. However, Marianne chose not to be buried at the Clapham family vault. She was found discovered outside London, and when I found her, that's where I discovered, if you like, this. There was a confirmation of a numerical language system which I had been passed or handed over. Now, I won't get into what I discovered at the church because it's a lot of sensitive information, but what I can share with you is that this family, and particularly at the time of, I would say, the 1700s, it appeared from my research, which has taken the last 13 years, that they knew that there was going to be a change coming in, that was going to happen in the future, and it was going to be a global change or shift, if you like, and that moment of time has actually arrived now. So that's the reason why I'm happy to share this information because it's the right thing to do, and I did listen and hear your video with the round table, and I think what I will do is I will share with you the knowledge that I gained from the 13 years worth of research, which dates back to these distinguished families. I've been able to use this numerical language system to decode information that I would suggest dark forces are using today. What I'd like to say is that before I start off, I'd like to say that there is energy in numbers. Numbers are important. They are the foundation of the universe. When you connect with numbers, you find communication. Now, I would like you to show a still, if that's possible, of that Economist magazine front cover. Sure, yeah. The numerology I've picked up only because of the handover of information, and I've been able to apply that with the messages that were left around Clapham Common and also at the church. So using this numerology, I've been able to decipher information behind three numbers, which is 10 and 3 and 13. The 10 and 3 pairing is quite significant, and these are the numbers that were used by these families to hide and decode information in the 1700s and the 1800s, and now I'm able to use that to decipher information that I can see today. The color, the information in color, I think in your last show, there was a reference made regarding the painting. And what I'd like to say is that there are numbers that are guiding me. There seems to be numbers that are guiding me, and the only way I can summarize that is that it's some form of communication. So I can only say the universe because the numbers that are guiding me are the same numbers that I discovered were perhaps guiding the historical people that I've just mentioned. They're all the same numbers, those three numbers that I've just mentioned. So with the
So are you talking about an outside, an off-world force, like alien entities or something even more elusive? Well, I guess some are not in a physical form and some can manifest in a physical form. But what I mean, well, otherworldly beings, do they communicate through you?
I, I can only term it as the universe, and the way that the universe communicates through to me is either through, last year it was a painting, this year it is the Economist magazine, if you like, and information that I have been led to. Now, for example, I the pe- the people that surface on my journey, the people that I connect with, usually, or I would say 100% of the time, they will be connected to those three numbers I've mentioned. So, for example, if I reference yourself, your initials, your first initial is L, and L is the 12th letter of the alphabet. So 1 plus 2 is 3. Now, your initial of your surname is A, and A is 1. Now, if you numerically reduce 10, 1 and 0, 1 plus 0 is 1. So you've got 1, which is 1 is the first letter of the alphabet, is A. So your initials are there. So I have an energetic connection around these numbers and people.
Great, that's very interesting. And I think you also mentioned that all of the guests on our show, Claire Edwards, Stephen Whybrow, and John Kitson, all had those, what you call divine numbers, or in what way do you describe them?
Yeah,
the numbers.
They're divinely connected. The 10 and the 3, I'll leave your audience to work out what's the 10th letter of the alphabet and the third letter of the alphabet. The 13 and the 10, that is a significant number. Ironically, we're actually heading towards the 13th of October, and that's where you have 13th and 10th month is October. So the 13th of October is actually quite an important date in a Catholic calendar, if you like, because that was the date where the Templar Knights were all rounded up and arrested. So that was if you like, that was the last day of the Templar Knights Order. So there was information around 10 and 13 that I found in a church, and also 13 and 3, that's the other period, 13 and 3 in a different church. So these, I call these divinely connected numbers, and the reason why is because the universe is actually communicating using these numbers. And
so when you say the universe, you're not really, or you don't want to disclose whether or not it is beings from another world.
I can only describe it as the universe, and the reason why I say the universe is because I found the information hidden behind these numbers in 3 different centuries.
And how were you able, or how did you discover your abilities to decode numbers and even understand them to this level and to become a numerologist, which is what you are, right?
Sure. It was handed over previously to me, and I think when I visited the church, that's when everything got confirmed to me, because in this church there is a tablet, and on the tablet I discovered that the inscription was in 2 different sizes, but the focus was always on the first letter of the word, and some of these letters were in different colors. So I call that tablet the confirmation of the decoding key, which I was passed, and I've been using that just to decode the information. It's actually in 3 locations. They used 2 parts of the British Empire. They used 2 locations here in the UK, and the other location was in the 13 colonies, which was New Hampshire. It's in a university in New Hampshire. When your audience, if they start to research the Thornton family, in particular John Thornton, they'll find out that he was the treasurer of a university over at New Hampshire, which is it's actually holding a lot of secrets that it doesn't even realize it has today. The secrets are actually embedded in the logo of that particular university.
And that in New Hampshire, that's in Northern America on the East Coast, huh?
Correct. It's on the East Coast. It's one of the original 13 colonies.
Right.
It was formed. The charter, if you like, was issued on the 13th of December 1769. So you can, there's some numbers there that are very, very significant in terms of how that is connected with other information that was, I would say, hidden around the British Empire, and they all connect. And once you decode the information, you will find that these informations are actually jigsaw pieces, and when you put the jigsaw pieces together, you'll find that there was a message that they wished to leave.
So the Thornton family, and you also talked about the Wilberforce family. I know you've spoken about is that the Franklin family, or is it Thornton, Franklin, and Cook? I guess you will that you feel are three very important players in your big puzzle there. Were those people and the Wilberforce and Thornton family original members before there was something called the Illuminati, which was formed in 1776?
Okay. The Thornton family, John Thornton in particular, because of his standing in society, was the richest merchant in the mid-1700s. He had a couple of acquaintances. Now, I can share with you that at Clapham Common, he was connected to Benjamin Franklin. When he visited Clapham Common, obviously he wasn't the founding father of America at the time, but he visited Clapham Common in the 1760s. Now, in the 1760s, John Thornton, he was I would say, he would have the status. He wasn't quite the Lord of the Manor, but he was on the same level as the Lord of the Manor because it had a lot of land on Clapham Common. Now, Benjamin Franklin visited Clapham. He had two acquaintances there, one that lived on the west side of Clapham Common. His name was Christopher Baldwin. For those that are interested in history, they'll find out he was a JP, and he was the guy that shaped Clapham Common when Benjamin Franklin visited. So when Benjamin Franklin left Clapham Common, the shape of Clapham Common, it was basically marshland. And what Christopher Baldwin managed to achieve there was that he changed the shape of Clapham Common into a triangular shape. It's a base pointed triangle. Today you can just about see that triangular shape. Now, the Cook family, Captain Cook's mother lived in Clapham Old Town. Now, she would have been in Clapham round about the 1760s as well. And I've got confirmation from the present owner of the period property in which Captain Cook's mother lived. I think we had a conversation about this previously.
And do you want to disclose who is living there now?
No, I'd rather not, because if I could just say that I've got a letter written by the present owner to confirm that Captain Cook's mother lived there. The reason why I've got to be careful, I've just got to respect some people's privacy and the nature of the information as well. And what I mean by that is that particular property. I found that there have been handovers, but I call them live handovers. And what live handovers are is when someone leaves the house, they usually pass on information to the incoming new owner. So that's a live handover. And the handover that I experienced, they are, sadly, they're called deathbed handovers. So usually you receive information just before the person passes away, and that's how I received, if you like, this information. Started my journey off in that way.
And of course, it's understandable that you don't want to disclose who this person is, and it's a rather famous person. But I'd just like to ask if you know if this famous person is aware of those things here.
Absolutely. Once I discovered there was a connection. When I found Marianne, where she was buried, there was a treasure trail of clues that she had left. So the first clue was the headstone. When you look at the headstone, that she used Bible inscription. Now, Bible inscriptions were actually quite a common way. It was popular. They used Bible inscriptions to hide information. So once you read the Bible inscription, first of all, it's an inscription. For me, when I first visited her, there was an inscription. I read it, and then I discovered it was in a Bible. And then when you found it in the Bible, what that gives you is the chapter and the verse. Obviously, you can find out what the book in the Bible is, but the chapter and the verse are quite significant numbers. And the reason why I say that is that the first inscription that she used confirmed the door number of the house that my family member used to be the private owner. And that house, as I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation, it's actually the last Thornton built house which no one is aware of even today. And what happened was, I think Marianne must have known about this, is when she built this house in 1885, she never spoke about this to anybody. She only gave this information to the owner who purchased that house.
But what is the significance of this information, and why is the Thornton family, even though they may have been related to the Illuminati bloodline families, you can explain that if you want to, and I think it will be interesting for the audience. But what is the significance of the Clapham saints, and where you're actually taking us in the story of Marianne Thornton and these particular houses there?
Okay. First of all, the Thornton family aren't related to the Illuminati. The closest you get to that is probably Benjamin Franklin. There are letters that can be found online. If you type in Benjamin Franklin and John Thornton, you can see that they communicated to each other. And if you have a look at the dates as well, if you add the day and the month, you'll get 13. This is how they used to speak to each other. Where I'm taking you with this is there was, if you like, a foundation left by them in the 1700s, and they wanted to preserve this information so it could reach the future, which it has done. It's been decoded. The only what happened was with the houses, all the Thornton houses were removed in Clapham Common, so all the Thornton built houses were completely demolished, and this one still remains. So that's why.
And they were all filled with symbolism inside that people that were hints, almost like a treasure hunt or something.
Yes, the last three. Marianne's father, Henry, he built three. The last three houses connected to Henry. He built 2 houses on his estate. One of them was for his second cousin, which was William Wilberforce, who was the co-founder of the Clapham Saints, and the other house was built for Charles Grant, and he was the chairman of the East India Company. Now,
and isn't it true that our good friend John Kitson, who's been on our show a lot, he's actually related to Henry Thornton and the Thornton family?
If you trace John, yes, it's John Kitson's mother who has the Thornton name. If you trace that back up, you'll get to North England. Now, the Thornton family were originally from Yorkshire. If you have a look at the Thornton family in the 1600s, there were clergymen, and there was a split. So you'd have a branch going towards the northern part of England, and the other one would stay in Yorkshire. Now, the Yorkshire branch, that split into 2 as well. One of them went to Bedfordshire, and the other one came to London. Now, the family that came to London, they made their fortune through the Russia and Baltic trade route. Once they made their money in the merchant trading, they needed to put that money somewhere. So what they did was they created a bank, and that's where you get the term merchant banking. So after they if you like, created their banking empire, then they went into politics. So
were they part of the Knights Templar?
No, the information that they left in the 1700s strongly suggests they were leaving information that had not yet manifested. And what I mean by that is, for example, a row of houses would be used to carefully and secretly hide the solar system behind numerology. So if you have door numbers, say for example 39, 41 and 43, if you add 3 and 9 you get 12, 1 and 2 is 3. So if you did the same with 41 and 43, you'd get 5, 4 and 1 is 5, and 4 and 3 is 7. So you got 3, 5, 7. And if you calculated the numerical value of our solar system starting from, say, for example, Mercury up to Pluto, what you will find is that when you cross-map the numerical value of the planets with the numbers that I've just described, which are 3, 5, 7, you will actually find that Pluto is 3, Neptune is 5, and Earth is 7. And how they finished that off was, and there was another door number which was, it was actually separated from that terrace. So you'd have a terrace of 3 houses, then you'd have a gap, and then you'd have the number 45. So 4 and 5 is 9, and the numerical value for Venus is 9. The building next door to 9, they built the sun. So you'd have, in perfect order, starting from right to left, you'd have Sun, Venus, Earth, Neptune, and Pluto. So they built this, or that row of houses was finished in 1700s, which is remarkable because Neptune wasn't discovered officially through Western sources until 1846, and Pluto wasn't discovered until 1930, I believe.
Yeah, and Earth is number 7, right?
Correct, yes.
So, I mean, how did the Thornton family have all of these, all of this secret knowledge in a way, and be able to understand and decode numbers in a way that they could actually structure houses and put secret information there? I mean, what is their actual connection to what?
Someone obviously had access to advanced knowledge. So, and that's what I found.
But where did they get it from?
Wherever they got that from, they hid this information behind those three numbers, the 13, the 10, and the 3. And that was a pattern that continued up until 1887, when Marianne died.
But this is also known and used by the Illuminati, not for the good though, and used by these secret society members of today as well. Whether or not they still call themselves the Illuminati or the 1%, certainly the secret, well, elitists, the cabal.
Yes, the numerology is being used, if you like, both by the dark and by the light. Now, the only thing I can say is the light we're using the language to hide information, preserve information across time for a particular purpose in the future. And they knew that there was a change coming to Earth. The dark, what they do is that they distort information. If they cannot get that information in time, distort it, manipulate it, or even remove it, like they did with the houses, because the houses were quite important. When these houses were built, the Thornton houses, if you looked at it from the sky downwards, a bird's eye view, it spelt the letter J, and the numerical value of the Henry Thornton houses, if you calculated the numerical value of those houses, it was 3. So that was a pairing of 10 and 3. All those houses were removed. So it looks like there is some conflict going on between the dark forces and the light.
And your first letter is also J.
Correct.
That's what you use.
Yeah, correct.
So do you think it's in any relation to you?
I would say that there is an energetic connection between there is a journey that has been taken from the 1700s up until today, and there is a connection between these numbers, correct? And even the people that surface on my journey, I'm actually guided to them. I don't go out and reach out to people. It's actually, I would say, it appears on my journey.
Mm-hmm. And so would you say that you are connected to this whole, this very interesting piece of history here, and how profound is it? Why is it so significant? Is it because they were able to understand, let's say, the secrets of the universe, or the codes to the universe, or the matrix, if you will?
They were aware that there was a change coming to humanity, for sure.
And this is a vibrational change that has happened for a long time now. And well, in astrology, people talking about that we've entered the age of Aquarius, and we've gone from the age of Pisces, which is the age of, well, faith and religion and belief, and now we've entered more an age of truth, by the way, speaking of, and also an age of, well, clarity, they say, but also an age of science. But what are your thoughts on that? You're quite religious, huh?
Well, the only comment I can make about that is the Thornton family were knocking us off a particular trajectory at the time, and they took down, if you like, the human slave trafficking industry, and that was obviously between the 18th and 19th century, and that was one of their roles. It appears that we must have been heading in a certain direction, and they took us off from that trajectory. Where that's led us is today, and as you've described, some people have the view that we are moving from one age to another. What they were aware of was that there was going to be a shift, you could say a shift in consciousness, if you like, but certainly a change in vibration, which was likely to, I would say, end the reign of the dark forces that are present today.
And how long have these dark forces been ruling the planet? Was that when the Illuminati was formed in 1776, or since the early times, in even going back to, if we talk about ancient civilizations and off-world civilizations, ancestors possibly on Earth, such as the Anunnaki?
Okay, the territory that we're stepping into now is probably best described by work from Alex Collier, and what he has suggested is that there is a occult covenant between the dark and the light, and I guess those in the unseen serving the dark forces, they follow a belief system which openly declares to the universe their planned false flag events on humanity ahead of time. Now, that's in the whole.
So how long have they done that approximately, would you suggest?
I can only go back to 1665 because my research will actually overlap around about 1665, which we may cover during our conversation. It had something to do with a comet. There was they openly declared a year in advance of a comet, and then the year after, which was 1666, which is an interesting number.
Certainly is 1666, huh?
Absolutely, and we had the Great Fire of London. So I can actually, trace back up until then. I'm sure that you can go. The lens stretches much further back.
Right. And are you still there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, this is certainly highlights, and I don't know how much people can, can connect the dots in how, what the significance is with this, with the history of the Thornton family and what you've been describing for quite a while now, which will lead us to go into present day and the decoding of the Economist magazine from December 2019, talking about what is going to happen in 2020, prophecies. And we did just this show called Checkmate, and it was actually through you. And we spoke to you before we did this show, and you suggested that we put our let's say a united force there together, and we did the show. So please tell the audience from your own perspective, what is the significance of this Economist magazine, and can we trust such, let's say, doomsday prophecies?
Okay, I guess how the dark have been communicating to their forces is through the Economist magazine. So, if hopefully your audience will be able to see the front cover of the December 2019.
Yes, a lot of people. We've had a lot of reactions since the airing of this show. Obviously, a lot of people have been extremely thrilled about the show, and some people also a bit suspicious, because usually on our show we don't talk about doomsday prophecies and things like this. But when it is something you can decode from a public magazine and even The Economist, then we thought really we wanted to take this very seriously. And there's a lot of things to decode and to discover when seeing that front page, and I think you will take us through all of that today as well. But what is interesting is that a lot of viewers have written that they've tried to get a hold of the copy or to find, that front page, but they seem to have, it seems to be rather difficult to even find that front page cover when you search for it. Are they trying to hide it, or what's going on with that, do you think?
There's a race between light and dark, from what I can see. The Economist front page magazine, it's for the purposes of those that haven't got the front cover. It's a 12-line matrix. When you first look at the magazine, it looks like a crossword puzzle, but you can actually read, I would say, linearly. There are words. So, for example, I'll just go through the first couple of lines. It reads, "The world in 2020, Trump." Now, for the person that looks at this for the first time, they'll just, I would suggest that they will read that linearly. Now, when I was first shown this, I knew that there was information in there, and the information's been hidden as events structured as a timetable. And what I'd like to do, if hopefully your viewers will be able to follow this, I would like to try to help decode just a couple of events, just so that people can understand that some people will be able to find events there, and it leads them in a certain direction. But what was discovered here was you've described it as a doomsday prophecy. How these guys work is they declare to the universe events ahead of time, so that if we do not voice our concern about this, it's read as it's been given consent, and that's their belief system.
But also, some people suggested after we came out with our show is that we actually did something to underline it in actual fact, almost working for the dark forces, outing all of these messages there, and in fact making people aware of it, almost like wanting to scare people with these things which could be working for the dark side, even though it's not what was intended. What are your thoughts on this suggestion?
No, you're shining a light on the events, and these are dark events. So once you shine the light on these events, you're taking away their power.
So I just want to jump in here again. So when people hear this information and they see our show, then they will feel a certain frequency. And as we said a lot on the show, and all the three guests said on the show, that when you present something, it's a frequency. And when you give out something, it's a frequency. But if this information will hit people and they will feel the frequency of fear, could there be a danger of actually manifesting these things? And had they not been said and not been outed in this way, then perhaps it would not take place. Not that it will, though.
I think Stephen summarized what you've just actually said quite clearly. What we're looking at is events that, of course, people might feel that we're probably helping them, but it's not like that, because first of all, we're dealing with a few variables here. The Earth is changing. The Earth's vibration is raising now, and it's I would say it's our role, if you like, those that have a certain level of awareness, to share this information. And what I'd like to share with you is that all the energy that is being given out, share it with the people around you so it can multiply infinitely. And it will raise your consciousness and the consciousness of those around you, and finally the consciousness of the entire planet. All this energy that is being poured, share it with others. Let it be known that vibration of love can truly save the world, not because of starry ideal, but because it can actually raise the field of consciousness of this planet with all its struggling humanity. And I think Stephen did mention the 100th monkey effect. So if you have people that are sharing this with those people that are on a similar vibration, we're in a period of time that we'll be able to manifest out of the events that they have declared to the universe, which they wish to roll out. And they have rolled it out. I'm going to walk you through this and give you an example. But the example I'm going to give you, it will actually indicate that although they've declared events on this timetable, they have it has changed because it seems as if that there is some sort of universal intervention coming through, or maybe, shall I say, involvement. And for example, if they've declared an event in July, I found that event actually was moved forward by 4 weeks and it occurred in June. And that's really a good sign for those people that are thinking that, if we're, this is actually, this information is actually working for the, for the dark. It's not. It's actually what we're trying to do is, by recognizing it, we are not giving consent, and by not giving consent, the universe will actually hold that in balance, and that's how we manifest out of these events.
Yes, we're certainly trying to expose it, to shine the light on it so that nothing can hide in the darkness. But would you say that all of the things that were that can be decoded from that front page there, that it has come to pass so far, or did they actually not happen, so that what was said there or written there in code was actually not true anyway?
Okay, I'll give you an example. If you take a look at line 3, for those that can see this, on line 3 you have a sentence which is, it says in and then 2020. Now 2020, it's in 2 different colors. You've got the first digit is a 2, second digit is a 0. That's in red, and then the other 2 and a 0 is in green. Now, if you have a look at the next line that is coloured, you have to go to line number 10, and that's vision. Now, if you say 2020 vision, that's actually a phrase, 2020 vision. Now, what I'd like to say is that many of the government's charters and mandates are set across maritime law. And using the red and green was a very distinct signal of the red returning. You have the 20, the first 20 is in red, and the word vision is in red. Now, when you're on the ocean, because we've referenced the maritime law, if you're on the ocean and you see a boat in front of you, a vessel in front of you, and it's flashing red, that's the port side of a boat. If you see the green light, that's the starboard side. So if you still continue in that direction, you're heading for a crash. Now, crash can be connected to financial crash. So 2020 vision is, if you like, the first layer of information, and by going deeper to the next layer, you've got the word crash. So 2020 vision, that's when the crash will occur. So how you can interpret that is, in March we had our lockdown. The global lockdown happened in March. So that's the only line that has got colour in. And then the next line is 10 in October. So what could be happening, what they are planning, if you wish, is that we could be heading for a crash which is being termed today as a reset. And I wasn't completely aware that there was a little bit more to the financial reset. And I actually discovered that could also mean a civilization reset, which is connected to the information that was decoded in line 11, which I believe your previous show covered.
Yeah, where you see the word war.
Correct, yeah. You got war on the line number 11 is November. So, what, if you like, I don't want to repeat myself from the previous show, but you've got that line number 11, you've got 19 letters. 19 letters, 2019, so 2019, there's a pattern that you usually come across, which is a check-in method, and one of the check-in methods was I found the 19 corresponded to 2019. Now, that particular line you can split into 4 blocks. Old diversity is one, rat is another, NPT is another, and war is another. If you take one letter from each of those blocks and read...
And you also see the word diversity on it, right?
Correct, diversity. Just very quickly, if you take the letters from those 4 blocks, I, R, A, N, you've got a country there which is related to the war. Again, this is interpretation. Now, the L diversity, because you're dealing with a 12-line matrix here, you have to take the first 12 letters of that particular line, and that will actually bring you up to the A in RAT. So you've got O diversity and then RAT. Now, because you've used the letter I and the letter R previously, you can't use that twice. You've already decoded it. So you need to take the I away from the O diversity. It's the second I you need to remove, and the R from the rat. Now, when you cross-map that with the number of letters on each line, so if you go back to the front cover, on the first line, you've got 3 letters, T-H-E. The next line is world, which is 5 letters, W-O-R-L-D. If you continue that up to line number 12, what you will have is a column of numbers, which gives you the number of letters of each line. If you find, say, for example, the third letter, so if there was 3 letters in the first line, if you look at the third letter, on O diversity RA, what you do is that you make a note of it. You can circle it and you've got the I. If you continue that with the 5, 6, 7, 8 all the way through, what you will find is that you're going to have a group of letters, and again, you can't use 2 of those letters. These letters will form an anagram. You'll end up with an anagram. Now, very quickly, some of your viewers will probably say we didn't use the O and the D. Now, the O and the D is a date stamp. The letter O is the 15th letter of the alphabet. The letter D is the 4th letter of the alphabet. If you add 15 and 4, you get 19. So that was a date stamp with an annual magazine. You're only looking at the year because annual magazines are usually produced in December at the end of the year. So once you bring down the O and the D, the IERSTA, you've got an anagram. The anagram is asteroid. Now, the letters that were not used, if you bring them down, all 4 of them, there'll be 4 left. So there were 8 letters used that make up the word asteroid, 4 of them. The first letter is a V. So if you just write down the letter V, the next one is an I. If you decode the letter I in Roman numeral is 1. And the letter Y is the 25th letter of the alphabet. So 2 plus 5 is 7, if you numerically reduce Y to 7. Now, P for Papa, the letter P is the 16th letter of the alphabet. 1 plus 6 is 7. So they have the same numerical value. So if you decode Y, you get P. And then the last letter is R. Now, R is the 18th letter of the alphabet, so it gives you the number 18. Now, if you rearrange the V, the I, the Y, and the R, what you'll get, the decoded information, you get 18 VP1. So if you add that to the word asteroid, asteroid 18 VP1, that gives a name of a particular asteroid. Now, I think you might have the printouts of the mainstream media recently. Mainstream media, and I'll just quickly go through a couple of them. 7news.com, so it's from Australia. On the 29th of October, it reported that the celestial object known as 2018 VP1 is projected to come near Earth on the 2nd of November. Again, you've got the Daily Star from the UK. It reported the same headline: NASA warns asteroid 2018 VP1 will pass close by to Earth. And there is another one, which is astronomy.com, so that's international. They say a small asteroid 2018 VP will cross Earth orbit on the 2nd of November. So if we go back to the purpose of this Economist magazine, what they are declaring is an event. So remember, it's a planned event which they wish to roll out without, if you like, if we don't push back, they, according to their belief system, we've consented. But by highlighting this and, as you say, shining a light on this, we're exposing it so we don't give it power. And Stephen covered that quite clearly. Now, that is one day before the US elections. And at the end of that line 11, you've got the WAR. So if you place these in order, you've got the asteroid on the 2nd of November, you've got the elections on the 3rd, and at the end of the year, end of the line, end of the month, you've got war. And that's how you're able to interpret that. So that's all I'm sharing with you.
So when we say war, and it says war very clearly there on the front page, are we talking about something locally, or are we talking about what a lot of people have said for a long time, that this whole pandemic with the COVID-19 and the coronavirus and lockdowns and all of this is actually the Third World War?
Yeah, it certainly makes a connection to that. So, yeah.
But do you think it will be a military war with weapons, what we saw at the Second and the First World War, and, well, in any other war? Or is it, like a reference to the old paper, silent weapons for quiet wars, that this is more, let's say, a silent war in terms of the clear success of indoctrination and collective mind control that seems to work all over the globe, basically, even though a lot of people are waking up to what is actually going on really in politics and behind the scenes?
It could be a number of things. I think you need to go to the beginning of the line 11. They've declared the word asteroid in mainstream media, so they declared it to the universe. Now, I'm not suggesting that there will be a physical asteroid that will come to the Earth. What they've done is they have said or suggested that there is an asteroid, and they have weather weapons that can simulate, if you like, such events.
HARP technology and directed energy weapons.
Correct, yeah. So they could use that to create a disaster, a global disaster. And if you do have a global disaster, what will happen? They would have got the reason to fast track towards the one world government, because that will be the event that will bring all governments together to work together, and that will phase into one whole government. So it seems to be in line with what people are actually been talking about, what's happening at the moment.
But the impact even though it's a simulation or created by this weather weapon, HARP or Jew, is the same, huh?
Yeah, it's it's basically what Claire was speaking about. It's very similar. Yeah.
But do you actually think that this asteroid will happen? Don't you think that it's actually not going to happen at all?
Humanity have got the ability to manifest out of these events, therefore change the timeline. And I did find an event there that happened earlier in the year, which they declared was going to happen in July, and it didn't happen in July. It happened 4 weeks previous to that, which was June. So it sounds or seems like there is a race going on, and perhaps the dark is trying to head off something in the future. It could be.
So some of the things that you can decode on this Economist magazine did actually come to pass and did happen just at a different time. So would that mean that this asteroid impact, whether real or not, could potentially happen at some point? Or can we now change it? And will this exposure, not maybe only from our show, but on other shows, will this stop this from occurring, you think?
Yeah, the purpose of doing the show today was to help manifest out of this and change the timeline.
But even though we would love to reach millions on our show, we still don't. And so how can a lot of people actually know about this if they don't share the information? Only a certain amount of people will see our videos.
Those certain amount of people have got a certain level of awareness. So again, what will happen is that the 100 monkey effect will come into play.
So even a smaller number of people that become aware of this can actually help to change the timeline, even though we're not talking about 7 point something billion people, which is on the earth at the moment.
Yep, correct. Only a small amount of people that are vibrating at a certain level. So yeah, they can certainly do this, perhaps even without even realizing.
And do you think if this was actually a planned, staged event, this asteroid, that it was planned the day before the U.S. elections in order to, I mean, not to get Trump re-elected, because it does say on the front page of The Economist that Trump will win this year again?
Yeah, it does. It's hidden carefully using triangles, but yeah, it does state that Trump will win in 2020. I think we're just going to have to wait and see how they roll that out.
But do you think he will win then, if this is also exposed on the front page?
What it could mean is if there is some sort of event that happens, it could delay the elections, for example, and I understand that Trump has got the power to defer the elections for 3 months. That's one option. That's one permutation. The other, I mean, there are a number of people that are coming out and they are suggesting that he is going to win. How he wins, there are a number of possibilities.
And didn't you also predict Boris Johnson being elected in Britain before it happened?
Yeah, that's quite a long story, but the summary of that was I was drawn to a particular painter, and one of his paintings I was able to decode.
And can we say who that is?
Sure. It's the painter's name is Banksy, and I'm referring to the original Banksy, not the Banksy that the mainstream media are promoting.
So that's not the real Banksy then?
No, my understanding is from the real Banksy, if you like, the original Banksy, the Banksy that we are accustomed to, They're made up of roughly 24 artists, I believe.
Oh, wow. Very interesting, huh?
Yeah, that's how the deception works.
Oh, that's an interesting piece of information. So it's not one person, it's actually possibly 24 different people.
Sure, yeah. What I would suggest is your viewers just type up, do a search on the real Banksy and find the interview. I think it was the interview was last February in 2019.
Mm-hmm. Great. So, I mean, what about this, the prophecy of the war? Can that be stopped as well? Are people waking up to what is actually going on, and will they stop complying, or are so many millions really under this deep spell, this mind control by these dark forces? And do you think that AI, artificial intelligence, play an important part in this collective mind control?
Well, the word AI is on line number 5. It's right in the middle. So obviously what they've done is that they have declared AI in this timetable in some form. I can't comment on about the war in terms of if that will transpire. All I can say is that they have declared it, and if you look carefully with the WAR, you've got the NPT, which is Non-Proliferation Treaty, and the RAT previous, the letters RAT before NPT, that could be ratified. So again, your viewers would have to take a look at who signed up to that non-proliferation treaty, and will that be the event, if you like, will that be used to trigger the WAR, which is the war at the end of line 11.
Uh-huh. And what else can you decipher or decode on that front page? Are there more?
Sure. The most important one to highlight is line number 12. There is a word almost in the middle of that line. It's called Nightingale. Now, this magazine was printed in December 2019, and they declared on that date the word Nightingale. Now, in the UK, we had the lockdown on the 23rd of March. Now, on the 23rd of March, just shortly after that, the government in the UK announced that they were going to build these field hospitals, and they named it then Nightingale. Now, how could they have done that, and how could they have named them if it's been found in the Economist magazine previously? So this suggests that this was all planned.
And what was the purpose of these field hospitals? Nightingale.
The word Nightingale is in line number 12. So
Yes.
sadly, if you're reading into the information in date order, you have the war in November, and then next month in December, you've got Nightingale. So those Nightingale hospitals, which citizens of the UK were told that they were field hospitals for the COVID pandemic, they won't be hospitals. They're most likely they will act as mortuaries.
So is this after the outbreak, supposed outbreak, though we hope not, of this war?
It's in line number 12, so it's after November. So yeah, sure. You'll be able to calculate exactly when, but the word Nightingale is right in the middle of December.
And is this a reference to Florence Nightingale, who was actually working on such field hospitals, weren't she?
Sure, there's a connection to Florence Nightingale. I believe that she was the Lady of the Lamp.
And could we read something into that?
You could do, yeah. Again, it's
the lamp. Is that significant in any way? Well, illumination or enlightenment or something else?
Exactly. I think your viewers will be able to take a view on that by connecting Nightingale with the previous events that we've just covered.
But it is because of her and that she worked at these military or field hospitals, I suppose, that they use that name, huh?
Sure, they do. But if I can take you back to March, when the lockdown was announced here in the UK, it was not so long after that the government decided to build these hospitals, and they named it Nightingale. And my point is, it's already been declared 3-4 months before, on the Economist magazine. So it sounds like everything's pre-planned to some timetable.
And can we also stop this from happening, and so that these hospitals will not be put to use?
Absolutely. Again, we go back to sharing the information and helping raising the field of consciousness of this planet.
What do you think is the significance of the FEMA camps that we've heard of for quite a long time in America?
I haven't got a view on that. I'm aware of it, but I can't really comment on that.
All right. So how is the Vatican connected to this whole global agenda, do you think?
If you, from the information on this front cover, if the event of the asteroid were to occur, you get a civilization reset, but that would trigger off all the governments of the world working together, which would transfer power to one central body, which will coordinate, and that's where you've got the one world order. The last step, if you like, is the religion, the one world religion. And once you've achieved that, then you've completely enslaved humanity. So how the Vatican plays a role in that, I don't know.
And will they use this military technology, Project Bluebeam, which they have used before, I think in the harbor of Havana on Cuba, where they used Project Bluebeam to show the Virgin Mary to people there in the sky?
I'm aware of Project Bluebeam. I think that would be the way forward for them if they were to deceive humanity regarding the asteroid event or the simulation of an asteroid event, because what would happen is, first of all, they would embed in the human psyche well before them, which they have done already, through the sources of references I've previously mentioned. They've already declared it. So I suspect that if they do try to declare that nearer the time, once this event is rolled out, you'd be waking up to perhaps mud floods, and people will be connecting both dots and relating it to, oh, it was that asteroid that they were talking about. That's how I suspect that they will try to roll that agenda out.
Because these prophecies are a little bit biblical, aren't they, in reference at least?
That's what they're using, yeah. That's exactly what they're trying to use.
Because they also, as Claire said on the show, that they want to smash the religion as well.
Yep, they are looking for the one world religion and destroy monotheism. So yeah, it's many agendas.
So what are your thoughts on, and we discussed this on the show the other day, and throughout the years I've spoken to many people, guests on our show, about what Werner von Braun revealed to Carol Rosen, or Rosen, I don't know how her last name is pronounced correctly, but when she was working for him, I think at a lab at NASA or wherever it was, and Werner von Braun was, of course, one of those Nazi scientists that they brought over through Operation Paperclip in the past. And he said that they are planning, in order to implement full control with this New World Order global government, a staged alien invasion, which would also be Project Bluebeam. And this was in the 70s that he said that to her.
Yes, I have heard about that, and I'm quite wary that that's one of the events that they're looking to roll out, and I would suggest that would be probably in round line 11, which is November. I actually call that line just the line of convergence of the events, so there's many events converging on that line there.
But nothing is said about that on the front page of The Economist, though, huh?
No, I can't see that at all. I can't see that, but a lot of people are going to have that in the back of their minds, and they will probably connect that with, I would suggest, the HARP technology, the Project Bloom beam, that they wish to use to simulate an asteroid falling to the planet. I think they would probably want to overlap it round about that event.
So, can you speak to this extraordinary, coincidence or the significance of the lyrics, the poem that Stephen Whybrow read at the end of our previous show?
Stellt euch vor, wir haben uns gerade geliebt. Da fliegt er auf uns zu, der Asteroid. Mit rötlich-gelbem Schwanz tanzt er uns den Todestanz. Er macht ein lautes Boah! Mach bloß schnell das Fenster zu, du. Die ohne Bange entweichen der Zange. Die göttlichen Schiffe, mir göttlichen Griffe, nehmen die, die keine Angst haben, einfach mit. The rest gets hit. Wie haben wir geliebt, die Erde und den Sand, die ewig große Liebe, die uns alle so verband. Wie haben wir geliebt, den einen lieben Gott. Wie haben wir gelitten, brachte man uns auf das Schafott. Wie haben wir geliebt, das Wasser und das Meer. Ist denn uns und die Welt zu ändern wirklich so schrecklich schwer? Wie haben wir geliebt, die Sonne und das Licht? Sag mir bitte niemals wieder, ändern kannst du dich nicht. Die Prophezeiung, wenn Hitze auf Kälte trifft, wenn es nur noch grau ist, wenn es nur noch schifft, wenn Stürme zu Wirbelstürmen werden, ist das Ende nah auf Erden. Die Welt wird erschüttert werden von Erdbeben, will denn keiner überleben? Sie werden schlucken, Stadt für Stadt, Schachmatt, Land für Land, ach du großer Elefant. Nichts ist hier mehr mit charmant und garlant, alles abgebrannt, kein Geld mehr da für Flaschenpfand. Es ist eine große Schand, es ist eine große Schand.
Yeah, that's an example of synchronicity. So we're probably connecting with information right now on a vibration on the same level. So it wasn't a surprise when Stephen read out the words to those lyrics.
There was mention of the asteroid, and there was mention of all of those things, actually, which is quite extraordinary. All of so many of the things that are even on the front page of The Economist magazine.
There are two other sources of reference, if you like, covering two different type of markets, if you like. You have got Jordan Maxwell. He mentions that there's going to be I can't remember the exact words, and forgive me if it's incorrect, but he mentioned that there might be a catastrophe in round about October, and it's got something to do with the stars. So a lot of people are looking at that as perhaps that's to do with the asteroid. And the Simpsons, there is a Simpsons episode that I'm aware of, which of Simpsons, they're quite well known in terms of predictive programming. And there was an episode that showed an asteroid coming to Earth. So this particular event, the asteroid event, it's actually in different areas, if you like. It has been referenced in different areas.
So On this front page, is there more that you can reveal to us, or more things that you can highlight that you think people have to be very well alert about, or just become aware of?
Just very quickly, just to give an idea of how these forces work, if you like. If you look at, I mentioned earlier about the magazine, the date of it. Now, there is no date on the actual front cover of the magazine. If you're able to get hold of it and look closely, the date's missing. So we know that's an annual magazine, so we're only looking at the year, which is 2019. And usually the magazine comes out in December. So if you wanted to decode December 2019, December is the 12th month, if you like, and if you add the 1 and 2, that gives you 3. Now the 2019, if you add the individual integers, which is 2, 0, 1, 9, you get 12 again. So 1 and 2 is 3. So 3 and 3, it's a 33, and that's a Masonic number. Now the first line, if you look at the T, the H, and the E, T is the 20th letter of the alphabet, H is the 8th letter of the alphabet, and E is the 5th letter of the alphabet. So if you add 20, 8, and 5, you get 33 again. So again, you've got an energetic signature around the number 33.
And 33 is and the first line there is actually on top, like on top of the pyramid. 33.
Exactly, it's the top of the page, it's the top of the front cover of the magazine, so it's very symbolic.
But also on on line 6 in June, we see Mars written there.
Yeah, sure. That could be a number of things. It could be connected to, I think, the satellites. So yeah, there's a number of views you can take on those 4 letters. Certainly, especially if there are, people thinking about this false flag event of the alien invasion, that could connect into that as well.
Some people have suggested that for a long time the military has had secret bases on Mars, and that people can actually live there, and that it is inhabited in one way or the other, in some form, at least with bases up there. Some people also talk about underground bases on Mars. Of course, this is speculation, but we've had several people on the show talking about that this technology exists. There are even some time travelers who talk about having been to Mars through a time travel apparatus or something like that, a device.
Yeah, sure. I've heard that information as well, and I think all of this information, because we're going through a transformation period, there will be a period, I guess, of disclosure where this information might come to the surface.
So you don't know what the significance is of Mars, because it's quite clear when you see the front page that it says Mars.
No, I wouldn't be able to give you maybe what that particular word means in relation to the front cover.
And then on line 9 in September, which is this month, and we are just ending September. We are filming this on the 30th of September. I believe this is the last day of the month. It says Bond, as in James Bond, or bond in a different way, like bondage, or a bond as in connection, or how would you decipher that or describe it?
Well, the word bond is actually before line number 10, which is October, and I've previously mentioned 2020 vision that is connected to a crash, financial crash perhaps, which is being presented as a reset. So the word bond is a financial instrument perhaps to look out for before the October reset.
for your bonds financially. Is that what you mean?
Correct, yeah. The bond markets as a financial instrument. If you have a look at the previous three letters, D, G, and S, the D, G, and S in the UK could mean deposit government scheme. And the deposit government scheme, I think, gives the depositor, so customers of banks, an insurance of up to, I believe, £85,000 for a bank account. So again, if that is it's perfectly placed. It's just before the October, perhaps, financial reset.
So, I'm actually not sure whether or not this magazine is British or American. Can you reveal that to me? I actually don't even know that, but there seems to be a lot of British references.
That's because the Economist magazine, they're owned by the, if I can just say, the Red Shield family. I'm sure your audience will know who they are. They control this magazine, and they
Red Shield, I'm sure they can certainly translate that name to a very specific family, huh?
they're a powerful financial family, and the financial centre I would suggest that they're using is the City of London. So, and they obviously reside. The Red Shield family have got presence in the UK.
Okay, so even though so is it basically an American magazine, even though it is owned by the Red Shields?
I'm not. I know it's an international circulated magazine, so I'm not. I mean, the Red Shield family.
And there's always like hints and something very specific on the front page, huh? Always a revelation, something very, very clear for people to see. On every front page of the Economist magazine, and it's been like this every year, huh?
It's certainly been recognised since the lockdown in March. If you take a look at some of the magazine front covers, it actually summarises some of the events that have been happening in the UK, perhaps even globally across the world.
Mm-hmm. And I think there was also a very significant cover, a front page of The Economist back in 2017. That's at least what I've seen briefly. I haven't really looked into it yet. So it also says Brexit on the front page. Can you address that?
Sure. You've got Brexit between April and May. So some people have read that as BR exit. I think the British royal family exit. So there are, if you like, a couple of views centered around the BR and exit or Brexit.
Oh, so it doesn't mean Brexit in the way that we know it.
It could be. It's giving you, again, it's taking you down a certain direction if you want to interpret it as British royal and then exit or Brexit.
Mm-hmm. And then recession. Did we already talk about that?
Well, the recession, as you can see, it's overlapping on line 7 and 8. So you've got July and August. So again, it's a marker for those people. Remember, this magazine is the information on this magazine is a broadcast to their dark forces to let them know markers across the whole timetable. So perhaps the word recession, it's for them to position themselves accordingly.
So what is the significance about on line 9 and line 10? Beethoven, the composer.
Yeah. Again, we have an example of how did they know the Beethoven. First of all, Beethoven is it's a conference that was being held in Hong Kong. When the global lockdown was announced in March, immediately in March, there were two conferences that were cancelled. One of them was in Dubai, and it's called Expo. So if you look at August or line number 8, you've got the last letter E followed by XPO. So you've got Expo, and that event was cancelled in March, and the same applied to Beethoven. Now the funny thing is, how did they know that these two events were going to be cancelled as early as March? How come they didn't wait? Because they kept on saying in the UK that initially when the lockdown occurred, it was under review in 3 weeks' time, so everything should return back to normal. Lucas, can you hear me?
Hello? Oh, wow, we lost the connection with Jay there. I hope he can join us again. There has been a lot. Yesterday, we couldn't even go online. That was a terrible situation. We spent hours trying to connect, and now we have lost connection with Jay. I guess we're talking about a lot of controversial things here. So I hope he can reconnect somehow. I'm not going to stop this recording. So he called me on the telephone, and I hope that he'll be back on soon. Meanwhile, I'll drink from my Area 51 souvenir cup, which we bought when we were there at this quite tacky alien center there at Area 51. So, but it's a very good mug. Lots of coffee can be in this one. So let's hope we will not have any problems getting Jay back on here. It was terrible yesterday. We tried for a long time. Now he's there. Let's see.
Hi, Lucas, can you hear me?
Oh, you're back, Jay. Wow, I really thought we lost you like yesterday when we tried for hours to go online.
Yeah, sorry about that. Apologies. Yesterday was totally different. I think we were definitely being prevented in getting this information out.
And you were talking about the Beethoven, the significance of that, and that's not in relation to the famous legendary composer, but actually an event in Hong Kong. And you said that they already knew when publishing this magazine that this event was supposed to be canceled, this expo. So they knew in advance.
Well, it's just strange that they cancelled it the minute the lockdown was announced in March, when they kept on saying to everybody that everything was in review. And it's been permanently cancelled. Expo's in Dubai and Beethoven's in Hong Kong. So you've got two regions there just before the November line. So again, why have they completely cancelled that when since July things have been opening up, but they've remained cancelled? The only one thing I'll just point out to your viewers is some information is usually hidden using the first letter of a word. Now, in this case, if you took the first letter of each line and rearrange it, you'll get the word I set exit. I set exit work, sorry. So again, who is setting this exit? You know, obviously you've got this magazine is owned by, majority is owned by, influenced by the Redshield family, and whoever's put this timetable together, they could be suggesting I set exit work. So that was the only one other point I wanted to make.
Well, there is actually a very significant name on line 12, the last line in December, Raphael. And this must be a reference to the archangel Raphael, huh?
Yeah, it could well be the one of the archangels. A little bit concerning that it's been mentioned just before Nightingale, or shall I say it's between the word war and Nightingale.
So could Raphael possibly be what they would project through this Project Bluebeam technology, if one could speculate about that, how they might want to use it?
I'm sure that's a view that can be taken, yes.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, if there's nothing else about the Economist magazine and the decoding of that, maybe you can just tell people, give them a couple of ideas about how to take this. What should people do when hearing all of this decoding of the magazine?
Well, I think I mentioned before about sharing this information. So if you're able to share this information, it will actually help raise your consciousness and the consciousness of those that are around you. So if you can do that, that will obviously help manifest
But
out.
can you understand that when people hear this, and of course it's quite clear what you're decoding, but when people hear that we don't hear your original voice and we don't see your face, what are you hiding? A lot of people might be speculating about who you are, what you're connected to, why you know all of the things that you know, and probably a lot more. Why don't you want to be public?
I'm just actually a private person that received this information through, I would say, a particular family line, and I've had the privilege of receiving it, using that knowledge to decode information, their information that is, and as a result of learning to decode their information, I've been able to, if you like, intercept this broadcast, decode it for the, I would say, to help people understand what's going on, because this is definitely, there are definitely events hidden in code on this front cover in a timetable format. And what I'd like to just point out to your viewers is, if you have a look carefully on that front cover, on line number 5, the second letter on line number 5, you've got the letter X. And then if you go to line number 7, again, position number 6, or the 6th letter, you've got the letter X. And then on line number 9, the first letter is an X. Now, the letter X is the 24th letter of the alphabet. So if you add 2 and 4, you've got 6. And because you've got 3 X's there, you've got 666 there. So this is certainly a broadcast to, I would suggest, some forces, and it's useful to know how they are disseminating information.
And when you look at the first X on line 5, then the second X on line 7, and the third X on line 9, how they're structured or how they are placed, it looks like a tilted pyramid or a triangle. You could actually draw a triangle there, huh? Almost. I don't know if there's the same distance between them or not, but it certainly is a bit like that, huh?
Yes, it is. I mean, the triangles or pyramids, that's a symbol that they use. Even if you have a look at the Trump win in 2020, the word WIN, that's in a triangle format, and right next to it, people might not realize this, but you've got NWO as well right next to it, and that's in a triangle format, and we know what the NWO means.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, New World Order. When you go to line 3, you see the N and then the W on top and then the O if you just turn it around. So do you think that they actually were able to structure and to place all of these letters and a few numbers like that, and and it has, and all of it has a significance, and nothing is left to the imagination here, huh?
No, it's, again, I can only go back to letters. You can have a numerical value to a letter, and we know that there is energy in numbers, and numbers are important. They are the foundation of the universe. So when you connect with these numbers, you will find communication. That's what they're doing. They're broadcasting, I guess, to their forces, if you like. But we've been able to interpret this, and hopefully we'll be able to turn this around and manifest out of the, remember, they're planned events, and they will only go ahead if we consent to it. So I can only say that I do not consent to, especially what they've declared in line number 11.
No, certainly not. I don't think any of us will consent to that. 2020 is written with 20 in red and 20 in green. What's the significance? You did talk about that, but colors have frequencies as well, and red is that the color of the devil, or what? And do we actually include the zeros, and then it will turn to 22, or am I understanding that incorrectly?
Right. The level of decoding that I used was 2020 vision. That's the phrase that's used, and that's in conjunction with maritime law. And I previously mentioned that if you have a ship or a vessel that's on water, if it's, for example, pointing in front of you, so if the bow is if it's pointing ahead of you, the bow, and you've got the stern at the back, the left side is red and the green side is, sorry, the right side is green. So the left side is your starboard side and the green is your port side. Now the starboard side is usually the side that is pushed towards a harbour, and that's where it's docked. So if you've got the colour red in line number 3, if that's where it is, and that was a ship, if that was to try to, I would say, take a journey so that it would end up at line number 10, which is October, what you would find is that this ship would have to turn right. Okay, so you got red turning right, and then, if you like, turning 180 or through a 180-degree turn, it's now coming down towards line number 10. So it's going through the months, March, April, May, coming down to October. And again, remember that a ship usually docks on its port side, its red light side. So again, when the boat turns around, it's returning. So that ship is returning. So the red light, if you like, on the left side of the boat, red light returning to October. Now, what does that mean? What happened in March? March was a global lockdown. And what
so we will see another lockdown in October. We're just entering October, well, tomorrow. So do you think it will? It is a new lockdown coming?
That's what they have announced. That this is what they have planned, and they've declared that. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It's only going to happen if we allow it to happen. And with the awakening that's going on around the world, I believe there's the pushback has already begun, and we may find certain events that have been declared on this particular front cover. It's not going to transpire.
Is it true that you could actually eliminate or take the zeros away when looking at that number as well, 2020?
Yeah, you could.
And then it would be 22.
Yeah, sure. That's another level of information. Yeah, if you wish to do that. Yeah.
And what's the significance of that number? Do you know? 22.
22 is it's a master number. It's twice the power of 11. So there could be something in March, or the number 22 is just twice the power of 11 in terms of frequency.
You also sent a drawing, I believe, from the supposed or the comet in 1666. And you do believe, I think, that there's a connection and a link between that comet of 1666 and the supposed asteroid coming here in 2020.
Sure. Yeah, the front cover is the cometes, or comets, and it was I would say, a journal or book by John Gadbury, and I came across this quite recently, and which was quite disturbing because this actually opened up my eyes with line number 11 about the comets, because my understanding with the October reset was just financially related. Now, with a comet, if there was a comet that came to Earth, that would obviously have a massive impact. And what people have described is that you would have a civilization reset. Now, I found that this particular book, they declared in 1665, there was a passage that was written, which I hope you're going to be able to show that as a still, but if not, your viewers can type in the word. The author was John Gadbury, Gadbury, and 1665, and if they type the word comets, they should be able to find the front cover of there. And on the left-hand side, on the bottom,
I do think we can include that image there in this broadcast. So we'll try and do that.
Cool. In that case, if you take a look at the left page on the bottom, it says, "These blazing stars threaten the world with famine, plague, and wars. To princes death, to kingdoms many crosses, to all estates inevitable losses. To herds of men rot, to ploughmen hapless seasons, to sailors storm, cities civil treasons." Now, in 1665, they are suggesting a comet can cause this much havoc. And then the year after, in 1665, we had the Great Fire of London. And people probably...
1666, you mean?
Sorry, beg your pardon. 1666, the year after, you had the Great Fire of London, and also some people find that there was also a plague there. Now, this connects with what's going on right now in terms of, with the plague, if you like, we have the coronavirus. With famine, it's very well covered from many different sources that we are heading towards a famine because of the crop failures that are not being publicized around the world. And wars, we've just covered wars, which was in line number 11. Now, in 1665, they declared this information. In 1666, we had the Great Fire, and as it suggests here, those 5 lines, they had all these events. Now, with the Economist magazine, they have done exactly the same thing. If you were to connect both of those events, so it's almost history repeating itself. So could there have been a civilization reset in 1666? That's the question.
Really? Wow. I mean, what do you mean a civilization reset? We haven't heard about that in history, at that point in history.
Well, this is up for debate. My research really, it goes back to round about that time, but I've never looked around what had happened with the civilization, if you like. But that is definitely an interesting discovery and connection.
But was this during the time of the plague?
Yes, there was a plague in 1665. The Great Fire of London supposedly started in a baker's shop in Pudding Lane in the city of London. What I suggest is there could have been a direct energy weapon used to.
In 1666?
Absolutely, yeah.
How could that have happened?
Well,
Who had those who had those weapons at that time?
we have to assume that the dark forces, as you referenced earlier in our conversation, how long have they been here for? So, if they've been here for hundreds of years or even thousands of years, they may have had access to that technology.
Or to a time travel machine, or an energy field, or Project Looking Glass we've heard about also.
Sure, exactly. And by using any of this technology, what you're actually doing is that you're changing the timeline.
So do you think that could actually be a possibility?
You can't rule it out.
But we haven't heard about a civilization reset at that time, and a fire of London is not going to smash the whole civilization of the earth. But the plague certainly took a lot of people, and that went on for a couple of hundreds of years, right?
Sure. Yeah. Again, you'd need to look into the civilization, the population demographics round about that time, not just in UK, but I would suggest wider, to see if anything similar would have happened around in terms of a change. So yeah, again, it's something up for debate, I would suggest.
But you are also a believer of a God, I think. And if there is a God, or an all-loving God, why would it, or he, or whatever it is, allow these dark entities to rule this planet with anxiety, hate, anger, and this complete fear? And we've been under this spell and this amnesia for centuries now.
We're going through a transformation period, and this transformation period, many people have got the view that we may be moving into a different dimension, so thereby leaving this present reality and going into a new one. So again, there's a lot of views in terms of why is this being allowed to happen, and I believe it's part of the transformation period.
But why would an all-loving or all-powerful force, God, even accept this or allow this to happen? Whether it's archons, jinns, demons, this devil worship, and the elite worshiping Satan, and all of those rituals and all of those horrific things happening to people and children, and all of the things we hear about. So why is that even possible? Why can that even happen if there is such a thing as an all-powerful force, God?
This may take us back to someone I mentioned earlier, which was Alex Collier, and what he suggested was many thousands of years ago, there was a cold covenant between dark and light. And as a result of that, there's been this period that you could say it's been allowed to happen only because humanity was fixed at a low state of vibration. And as time has progressed, the vibration of the Earth has been rising, and you could actually connect that to the universe. And as a result of that, we are probably looking at maybe a shift. People are suggesting a shift of consciousness, possibly even moving up to a different dimension. So we are certainly now in a transformation period, which we are now experiencing, which I would suggest is summarized partly by that Economist Magazine front cover, because they are planned events, you see. But like I said before, these planned events can be stopped if we don't allow it to happen, but we all need to all raise our vibration together.
Okay. Well, we have actually tried to get Alex Collier on our show many times, about 6 times. Maybe we'll be lucky the 7th time, but he's one of the few people that we've not been able to get a hold of, really.
His work's quite difficult.
Well, the material is not that difficult. It's been more difficult to get a hold of him to do the show.
At the beginning, maybe 15 years ago, you would be able to find his work readily online, but now it's very, some of his original work, some of his, I think there's been work that he had, or someone had posted up maybe, maybe in the 80s, for example. They usually get taken down that I've seen. But yeah, if you could get hold of Alex Collier, I think he's the original person that suggested that there is a cold covenant between the dark and the light, and we are now probably coming to the point where we are going to change that dynamic.
Yeah, we certainly do want to get him on the show. We are just hoping that he will accept our invitation in the future, because he does have a lot of very fascinating information to share.
Sure, he does. I think he's a contactee.
Yeah. So in our remaining moments here, Jay, is there anything else you want to mention or to share with us while we're still doing this show? We would love to do another one with you, and maybe we can even do one where John Kitson is also maybe part of it. But is there anything else you want to share with us here tonight?
No, I'd just like to say thank you for having me. I hope the information that is being shared will be useful to everyone, and not a problem having another show with anyone you'd like.
Okay. Well, it's been really amazing to have you on the show, Jay, and it's been so nice to connect with you. We've also spoken privately, and I hope at some point we can meet also in person, and maybe one day you will be ready to go on the air and show yourself. And if you ever choose to do so, we would love to have you on the show again. And we would also love to do another one with you in the future and see what will actually occur in the next coming weeks and months after we have discussed this and exposed what is actually to be decoded on this front page of the Economist magazine. So, yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, Lucas.
Thank you very much to Jay of the Clapham Saints from Clapham Common in Great Britain. We really appreciate you being here on the show. And thanks to all of you for watching Age of Truth TV. You can support us by clicking onto our website, ageoftruth.tv. And please like our videos, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell for notifications. You can also sign up for our newsletter on our website, ageoftruth.tv, so that we can notify you every time we have a new show out. And please also leave your comments in the comment section below. Thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you again very soon, and your support is greatly appreciated.